This Halloween, the IORA Cup Series chooses to visit the very foggy High Banks in Alabama. 2.66 miles each and every lap. We've been here many times before, but never have we seen the IORA Cup Series put on a Halloween special quite like this. Championship field will be decided tonight. The 12 eligible drivers to compete for the Season 6 title. We'll find out who they are and what they come to do, as tonight in the spooky odd 213, it's time for drivers to figure out the tricks and treats of the Talladega SuperSpeedway. This is race number 10 on the campaign. Welcome back to Alabama. It's great to return as the IORA Cup Series continues a wonderful campaign. And this time around, we have a few new drivers coming in, some returning veterans and rookies alike, competing against the 12 best drivers in the field, many of which just looking to lock down their spot. The regular season championship still is up for grabs, and a victory tonight could set apart the best of the field from the rest. Welcome back to Talladega. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Great to be here with qualifying on its way. Currently 19 drivers have taken a time so far, going back to Daniel Mosteller in the number 87. At the provisional poll, it'll be River Page as it stands. Let's take a look at those fastest lap speeds right now and see who's got at the top of the board alongside River. Currently it looks like it'll be Page, then right behind him it's going to be currently Casey Bentz, P3 Connor Mirabelli, and the 57 of Nate McLaughlin. He's making his very first career start. As we take a look downstairs, packs are already in formation. And great to see these drivers getting themselves prepped for tonight's race. A lot of time on the table, of course, 80 laps of action. When we went to Daytona, of course, 250-mile race, coming in at about 100 laps worth. A few less laps tonight, a few less miles, but the challenge will remain ever present. Talladega SuperSpeedway is never easy, and every driver here, whether or not they're new to the IORA Cup Series or not, they know it. River Page now back up to the provisional pole. In his number 24, Nathan Palawada, then second, and Casey Bentz will be P3. Looks like a big wreck right there, but it won't affect anyone else. Devin Baker making his first start of the season. Good to see Devin's back, a full-time contender in Season 5, and he's making his first start of the campaign tonight. And a fitting time to join in just before the season comes to a close. Still a few more races he can put in, maybe to get some good efforts in, perhaps a top 10 run or two. Tonight could be one of which. Many rookies in the place to be tonight. Dominic Barbagallo, number 17, brand new here in IORA, but if you're familiar with the Schumacher Racing League, he is a veteran of his craft in SRL Cup Series competition. Moreover, while Vincent Guecci gets in this bundle once again, you'll notice some returning drivers who are quite familiar. Frank DeAngelis has come back, Benjamin White making his first start of the season, Braden Movick. We'll get to the story of the number 42 in a little while from here. That's a name we have not heard in IORA Cup Series racing since Season 2, so it's been a long time for some of these drivers. However, it looks like one of your championship contenders and Homestead winner, River Page, the defending champ, will grab the pole position with now just under 10 seconds on the clock for his grouping. A few other drivers get a little bit more time to put a good lap in. Alexander Balderas with the Jacob Wilkerson machine here. As long as they come to the checkered flag in one piece, this lap will count. For Wilkerson, it won't be too much. Now Devin Baker with a shot to make something of it. Baker with Aiden Walker, Andres Varas at the line. Will anyone improve? No significant gains. River Page still has the pole. Balderas slides. Devin Baker gets through the carnage. And for all intents and purposes, qualifying is done. Drivers are now making it down to pit road. Devin Baker, the one and only driver on the track, and it is foggy tonight, and that's no hyperbole. You looked at the overhead track shot, and maybe you would think it was better down low. That's not the case. Max wind speed, full fog all throughout. It will be a dreary night inside the cockpit, adding to the Halloween challenge as drivers have to deal not only with each other, the track, they've also got to deal with the weather. Tonight, that will play a part, and you can see as the grandstand fade into the background, only thing Barney the Flagman can see is the track just in front of him. Pole position collected again by the number 24, River Page. Top lap. Quick speed, 50.413 at the line. And so now 80 laps remain until, of course, the checkered flag flies. But first, we have our one and only pace lap before the racing goes green tonight. Let's talk about those who are at the front of the field, including the number 24 of River Page. He's alongside many championship contenders. There is the iRacing pace car. The pace car will be the leader, of course, out of this brief standing formation. We'll have one rolling lap. And so with that being said, let's get to know your final regular season field of 2024 and season 6 as well. River Page collects the pole position inside of row number 1, and Nathan Palawato will be right beside him. Both competitors for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport teammates first and second. Palawato looking to lock into the championship race by virtue of a victory tonight. Daniel Mosteller and Aiden Walker in the thick of a championship fight of their own. Regular season first and second in points. Aiden comes in after an Usher Slevin runner-up finish, just 5 points up. That is the differential right now. Aiden is barely ahead. Demos is right there. And tonight, both drivers going to be sporting orange. They're second and third on the lineup. Connor Mirabelli. Then you got Casey Benz, both of which on the third row. They're starting well tonight. And just ahead of them, they will be with the number 57, a new driver, Nate McLaughlin. He will be in P7. Brendan Dugan is 8th. Jim Thurston will be in 9th. Andres Faras, the rookie who did very well at Daytona, he's going to find himself rounding out in the top 10 for tonight's festivities. Alexander Balderas starts in 11th. He won in Atlanta. Michael Deitch, 12th place. Devins Baker, first start of the season. He'll start P13. And Aaron Schugel joining his new team at Henry Kaloff, Michael Deitch Racing. He'll be with his teammate Corey Lyles too. But Schugel gets the upper hand starting in P14, and then you got Wilkerson 15th. And then Joaquin Carter in 16th place. Corey Lyles is 17th. Henry Kaloff is in 18th, with 19th being Dom Barbagallo, and Vincent Guecci rounds out the top 20. 21st place is going to be Benjamin White and Braden Movick coming back first time in years. Braden starts tonight outside of row number 11 with Frank DeAngelis and the rookie Christian Cole, 23rd and 24th. The final drivers on the starting grid here in Talladega, IORA's first ever Halloween race. Well, let's see what treats are brought to the table. Wonderful paint schemes. It'll be hard to see them. It's a foggy night here in Alabama, and the weather conditions will reflect just that. 66 degrees track temperature, 65 degrees when it comes down to, of course, your ambient temp. Partly cloudy, but you won't be seeing all too much of that. Humidity is ramped up to the absolute max. So, yeah, you're really going to see very little of course, the track tonight, unless these drivers do a good job of maybe waiting it out until the sun finally shows up. It'll take them several hours, though. We are expecting all night long not to see any rays of sunlight. It will be a foggy event, minimal visibility, and so the pack's going to have to keep a real close watch on itself, and those drivers have to make sure they know exactly where their teammates or their rivals will be going. Don't want to see a big wreck very early. One faster pair, as always. We're going to be policing that very strict tonight, as we do have drivers with the ability to go for more than one. However, that will be disallowed. One faster pair, 1 second chance, and one final shot. The regular season championship contenders, well, they'll move on. Only 12 can go forward. A victory for some of our wildcard drivers could move them in automatically, though. River Page gets the signal to turn it on, and we will rev up those engines one final time in the regular season. Green flags out from Talladega. Page and Palawato, teammates, lead the field to the opening turn. And so, well, as you take a look up in front, it's going to be Nathan Palawada instead of his teammate River Page. However, the two teammates have gotten together and they find themselves on the bottom with Connor Mirabelli working up top. Alongside him will be the 93 of Aiden Walker. Aiden's got himself up ahead in the Fanta number 93. This is interesting. You might notice or recognize that paint scheme, that Fanta look, and you might recognize it more so from Daniel Mosteller rather than Aiden Walker. Looks like not a paint scheme swap, but Daniel Mosteller almost passing down the Fanta paint scheme to his championship rival. Aiden Walker has been in prime position many times this season to come away with that first win. He has gotten oh so close time and again. It just hasn't worked out. And the question becomes right now, maybe Aiden Walker can push through for win number 1 on the season at a very risky, very unknown track. We don't always know who's going to come away with the race victory. We might have some favorites in mind, and many of which are up in front right now, but so much trickier when everyone's 3 wide, bundled up as you see here. Drivers not afraid to get close so early, and in the first 3 laps you're seeing 3 wide, 3 rows deep. A little bit of knocking back and forth, and with jostling Connor Mirabelli shooting a Jim Thurston up the track. Signs of danger. Let's hope these drivers play fair and play nice from here, though. You really don't want to see any of that just at the beginning of this race. A lot of time for the antics later on, and so we'll remain in mostly single file formation. Drivers come across the line again. Single file further on back, more like double or triple up and ahead. Now Jacob Wilkerson finds himself smack in the middle of this pack. You got Jacob Wilkerson, then from there you got guys like Jim Thurston. Look on the bottom, you got River Page. It looks like now Jacque Carter inside the top 10. Keep your eyes out for that triple-digit threat. Jacque making some good moves, and he's got himself 3 wide. Alongside him is still going to be River, as Connor Mirabelli has the overall race lead. Good look for Connor Mirabelli tonight in the 00 High Point Ford Mustang, harkening back to the time of Chase Briscoe in the number 98 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Now that High Point Ford Mustang, one of the most dominant team driver combinations in the past decade, one of which that we have seen not many times replicated, but ended up giving some Cup Series success to Chase Briscoe. 2 victories so far, and maybe more to come. As it stands, a little bit of a wiggle back and forth. Balderas and Mirabelli working together. Maybe not all too confident Balderas is with Connor as he sways once again. Alexander Balderas trying to take Connor out of line, and he's going to do so with force. That will move the 00 up to the highest groove, and now it'll be the number 95 of Balderas in the middle, slotting through with Jacob Wilkerson. Up and in front, Jacque Carter makes some further gains, and the number 42 right now, for the first time in years, since 2022, is up and ahead inside the top 10 in an IORA Cup Series race. Enter Braden Movick, the number 42 of previous eNASCAR College Series and IDK player. E-ticket success has come back to one of the places where it all began. Braden, you might remember, is an IORA Cup Series winner. Last time he won in this series, you have to look back to 2022, the fall of 2022 at that, to the Martinsville Speedway, where he was able to get the job done in an overall chaotic event, one of the final of which under the Gen 6 regulation era. Ever since that point, though, Braden has not made a single start, and he's come back now up to the front of the field again, doing a pretty good job keeping it clean. Known to some of his fans as the People's Champ, Braden is well known in this circle of drivers, but he's not given the IORA Cup Series a fair shot until today. Looks like so far his success has already come back to him. We'll see if it's fleeting or not, but first glimpse, he's up inside the top 5 and looking comfortable up high, with a little bit more support now from Benjamin White, both of which coming in together. And Ben White, a driver that we have not seen in the IORA Cup Series before in its entirety. First-time driver in that number 32. And Ben so far doing a pretty good job hanging up top, not really making any noise in the Turner Scott number 32. Shades of Casey Kane. Great clips in a very strong partnership way back when. Tonight, Ben White working some things out behind the wheel. And good to see more drivers coming in that we haven't quite seen beforehand. Dominic Barbagallo, another example. Dom has made his its way back in the 950, one of many Schumacher Racing League ringers. You might remember Von Drugman able to come away with a P2 finish to Jim Thurston just a few weeks prior. We've also seen Alexander Schumacher himself come in and a few others of SRL fame. Now tonight, it looks like Dom is going to be up next. Barbagallo finds himself up inside the top 3 now as he leads the high side over Vincent Guecci and Brendan Dugan. 3 wide through the fog. Speeds of over 175 miles an hour are not just to be expected, but they are mandatory if you want to keep up with the field around you. So far, the high speeds have only given us cleaner racing, in all honesty. Very few drivers have decided to hang with the front of the pack. Of the 24 you have in this entire field, only about 16 of which are really within arm's reach of the leaders. Maybe 17 or 18 if you stretch it further to guys like Michael Deitch. But in all honesty, besides that, there's not many drivers who are really in contact with the field. Daniel Mastella right now, you look at him in P18, he's trailing back. Andres Varas and company are certainly further behind. And then you get back to guys like Nathan Palawada and Michael Deitch. You're starting to see maybe a few smaller packs putting themselves together. And in large part, that's a response to what you're seeing up in front. If some drivers don't like the look of things up and ahead, that makes a huge difference, because if drivers expect there to be wrecks, there's 2 different attitudes. Going in head first, understanding there's a faster pair, and you can really go for whatever you want as long as you try to escape the wreck, or decide to hang back, expecting a wreck to occur, and that is usually one of the more popular strategies here. It worked out for multiple drivers. It worked out for Daniel Mosteller at Daytona, worked out for Alexander Balderas in Atlanta, and most likely for whoever the winner is tonight, as long as they expect to avoid chaos and avoid expected chaos, they'll have themselves in a very good position by night's end. We'll see whether or not that's the mentality, though, as 10 laps in out of 80, you also have to consider the long-term strategy in mind for tonight's event, which is entirely dictated by how these drivers perform in these opening laps. 10 laps in out of 80, we are not expecting to see drivers go for a one-stop call. That will not be possible. Instead, what you might see is 27, 28 at most laps, give or take, on each stint, and that's going to give these drivers a chance to go for the 2-stop strategy. A 2-stopper has the benefit of being significantly safer. It's very unlikely, in fact, that these drivers will be able to go all the way on 1 stop, and even if they do, they'd have to run many uncompetitive laps to get there. But it also gives these drivers a chance to plan things out with the groups they work with. We don't really see manufacturer teammates in sim racing. All these drivers will work with each other as long as they're not nuisances or hazards on track, but you all do begin to see, of course, drivers who trust each other, drivers who want to work with the other drivers around them, drivers who have preference. And when the preference becomes established, then you start to see drivers communicate with each other about where they should go and when they should go. That's going to be present tonight. I think even more so with the fog here. You don't know when you're going to pull down, or you don't know who you're going to pull down with. You might end up in a wreck coming down and in. Visibility is not as bad inside the cockpit, but compared to your regular Talladega race, this is certainly a huge difference. A little bit of smoke billowing in the back that looked to be some internet troubles, and no substantial problems further at the tail end. I mean, take a look on board. Let's take it with the number 55, Brendan Dugan. He's a perfect example for someone who's inside the pack right now, but isn't necessarily either too far up front or too far in the back. Just looking for the hood camera. Turns 3 and 4 are very much out of frame. And now you take a look with Aiden Walker here. There's not much you can see ahead of you to begin with. And visibility going to be a little bit dimmer over all the skies tonight. The cars might not be perfectly in frame if they're ahead of you. Aiden Walker right now is working just behind Jacob Wilkerson. This is up at the front of the field, battling for the race lead. In contrast, Devins Baker, he can't even see the leader from this perspective, and that's for more reasons than one. Not only does his perspective not allow him to, but you see those cars begin to fade in the distance. Well, for Devins, it means he can't entirely account for what's going on up and in front. That's something that also might be exacerbated by the hardware these drivers choose to use, whether they have virtual reality headsets, 3 monitors, 1 monitor. There's a lot of variation, and when the weather is perfect, which it usually is, and all things considered, that's not much of a factor we talk about. But when it comes down to a foggy night like this, the wind ramped up, the humidity ramped up, there is a lot to discuss when it comes to climate, and the factors on track are going to be a little bit different tonight, although tires will not be aching in the slightest. Lap times are going to be remarkably consistent as they have been all night long. Lap after lap, these drivers are running fast times. Speed is not going to be a concern, as it never is in Talladega, but since the track is also so cool, the rubber, it warms itself up, but it never gets to that critical point of really getting overheated. And that's going to mean maybe some drivers decide to go for fast stops, where they go in for fuel, try to get a jump on the rest of the field, and maybe someone who's in the second pack right now is beginning to evaluate or consider that idea. We only suggest it because in large part, you can make up time just by going on your lonesome and deciding to come back out a little bit quicker, just by skipping tires. Not commonly decided upon, not something we expect to see from the leaders here. I don't think they're going to be too stingy about their seconds on pit road. They just want to get to the end of the day. Currently, Jacob Wilkerson finds himself up and ahead, and Frank DeAngelis has gotten up and inside the podium. It'll be Frankie in the number 69 leading, and with them, Braden Movick, Jacob Wilkerson, Aiden Walker now in that second row, just beyond the confines of the race lead. We've been 3 wide since the jump here in Talladega, and it looks like these drivers are not afraid to keep it that way. It's perhaps a shocking turn of events given what we've seen at tracks like Atlanta or Daytona beforehand, where 3 wide has not been successful, but then you have to consider the width of the circuit and the trust that brings into other drivers. If you know there's room, maybe you can extend yourself out a little bit further compared to usual. If you don't think there's room at all, though, that's when you're going to see drivers be a little bit more skeptical. And in all honesty, that skepticism, it creates fear. And that fear might create a little bit more of a jittery attitude or nature between these drivers. And if you jitter the wrong way once or twice, bad news. That could take out the field, and it could be a massive incident which we all want to avoid. Talladega provides a little bit more of that comfort, although you can see these drivers are tight when they go 3 wide. Not to say it's very comfortable out on track, but it certainly is a little bit more so than our other super speedways. You can ride up and high, you can go down low, you can really squish yourself tight alongside other drivers, and nothing will be a race-ending moment unless the other drivers around you or you yourself make that mistake. So far, it looks like these drivers are pretty well aware of that, and even a few of the rookies have come up on their way. Christian Kolb, a brand new driver here in the Cup Series, he's gone from 24th on the grid up to the 11th position, and it looks like the number 98 tonight is one of our biggest movers, already jumping up plus 13. Alexander Balderas in Atlanta, he won from P25 on the grid. So to say it's impossible, it would be completely disingenuous. Matter of fact, when we talk about the previous numbers, maybe Christian Kolb is one of those better chances to be another driver to rise from the bottom and make his way up in front. Christian right now is getting rather close to the top 10, and who's alongside him? Who else but Alexander Balderas? That number 95 rises to the ceiling, and Casey Benz comes with in the 27. Casey looking real good right now to get a nice run up top, and maybe he'll have a chance to keep up with the front of the field. Casey was stronger than qualifying predictions had for him. However, it looks like when it comes down to these high-speed tracks, even one like Pocono, Casey tends to excel. You might remember his best career run. It came season 4 in Pocono Raceway. It was a strategy call. 11 laps to go. And with that being said, he was the leader. Unfortunately, he had to pit for tire. If he didn't have to, he would have won that race outright by greater than a 20-second gap. Casey's a driver who knows how to get it done when speed is of the essence, and I think right now he's showing it once again. He's a reserve driver, always has that restraint, and it's one of his key principles, and while he doesn't have any teammates with him, that might also come to his advantage in that anyone will work with him, and he will work with anyone. 18 laps in, and it looks like Henry Kaloff now up in front. Kaloff has made some major moves when it comes to his team, Kaloff Deitch Racing. They've been able to acquire JFR's sim racing division in its entirety, and with that, they've been able to take Aaron Schugel and Corey Lyles as new drivers in the IORA flock for the now 4-car enterprise. Schugel and Corey Lyles, with the experience of former race winners and championship contenders of seasons past, they're going to be veteran additions to this campaign, which I think Henry Kaloff Kaloff knows the team needs. Michael Deitch, Henry Kaloff, core leadership bringing it all together, and alongside them now a brand new division of the team. Right now they're running 11th and 12th, the new drivers are, but Henry Kaloff is once again carrying the banner. He's now an OSRL Cup Series winner. He's a previous winner, of course, in Saturday Night Thunder, and his teammates have won championships in the Prodigy Racing Association and FORL. This team is stout, but their biggest Achilles heel, their biggest challenge and mountain to climb has always been IORA. Big wiggle a little bit further back. That was Jim Thurston. He'll stay straight. We'll keep on going. And such is the challenge of those big teams. You have more drivers, but how can you make sure you got the best drivers? How can you make sure your drivers are the best suited for a specific type of challenge or problem at hand? That's something Henry Kaloff's going to have to address now, because he previously raced with nobody as a teammate. Then he expanded and brought along Michael Deitch for his operation. And now HKR, which is now officially called KDR, they have many drivers to work with. Aaron Schugel is going to be running the Underdog Racing Podcast number 91 paint scheme tonight, which is owned and operated by Kaloff as well. HKR and KRD, it's a big team now, but what can they do to go against the juggernauts of this series? The previous juggernauts, like Paintbrush Racing, who still send their best drivers in week after week, or Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport, spearheaded by two former champions in Jim Thurston and River Page, who are running up at the front of the field right now. It's hard when you're expanding your team alongside the expanded, the already well put together teams who have done it before and will do it again. And currently Kaloff finds himself lonely on the inside. Aiden Walker's gotten through with a surge. Here comes Aiden up in front, and with him will be Jacob Wilkerson. Wilkerson decides to bail to the bottom fast. That's going to shoot Aiden Walker a little bit further behind, and so he'll be caught up to with the number 24 and 55, Brendan Dugan and River Page. Aiden then decides to go up high and block Braden Movick here, and the Phantom number 93 with a big risk. We'll see if a reward comes of it, as it looks like he stunts the momentum on the outside significantly here, and Braden and company don't seem happy. He'll have to slot in with Devin Baker. And Baker, for what it's worth, looks like he has not missed a race with how he's run so far. Devins now finds himself inside the top 10, a driver who we have not spoke of all season, solely because he has missed the entire season to this point. But when Devins is on track, he's usually able to leave a good impression out there for himself, doesn't get in a lot of trouble, puts himself in good spots to win. Casey bent with a massive slide, and Casey again keeps it straight. Nice job there for the 2017, but another warning shot as the more cautious drivers like number 14 to Devins Baker decide to come through the field. You're starting to see the aggression maybe taper off. 22 laps in, out of 80. According to our estimates, pit road window will open in about 5 laps time, and as a result, you'll see drivers ducking down and in. And when they do so, you're going to see pivotal decisions made for the first time tonight. 4 tires, fuel, oil tires matter. How will fuel be approached? And how risky and aggressive will drivers be as they head off the Alabama Gang super stretch into 3 and 4 to merge to pit road for the first time tonight? There's a lot of questions with no definitive answers, and I think now the big issue becomes, do these drivers even expect to go that distance? We're getting very close, but still, no promises as we head now to lap number 24. No drivers decided to go in for a competitive pit stop yet. All 24 that registered have been able to make it to the start-finish line each and every time by so far. The field is still fully with us here, which means it could be anyone's race. Whether you're leading right now, if you're finding yourself in dead last, this race is not over. As a matter of fact, it has still only just begun. Many a time we say that these first 40, 50, 60 laps of Talladega are really just warm-up laps, because they have really no implication on who's going to win the race unless someone finds a way to drive away, which is next to impossible. Instead, we wait, we bide our time, usually to get some good racing in between, but it looks like now drivers are prepared to go down a pit road very soon. With the goal of going for 3 stints tonight and 2 pit stops, everyone keeps himself double file as they come across the line for lap 25. Going in at about lap 27 would be ideal, given that if you go down and in at that point, you'll go for a 27-lap run. You'll go down a pit road for the second time, and it'll be at lap number 54. And if you do that, you'll be able to perfectly make your way to the end of the race without interruption in the slightest. Pit road should be a small portion of these drivers' races, and it looks like Jacques Carter with a little bit of trouble as he slides out of turn 2, but he'll merge up and contact, and Varus is up the wall. So goes Jacques Carter. Will keep it together, keep it straight, but Jacques, for the battle in last place, goes sliding. Doesn't go spinning. We stay green. But nevertheless, Jacques Carter, Andres Varas, and battles. Feelings hurt over 23rd. Take a look at this. And Jacques Carter, as we take a look back to our replay feed, well, he finds himself going up the track with a rather errant block on the 82, and that looked almost intentional, and surely what Varas did there, I'm pretty sure he was well aware of what that was about. Varas shoots the 006 up the circuit. Jacques Carter, contrary to what we just said, he will go down a pit road prematurely, but he'll have to take a faster pair at that. Meanwhile, race leaders are coming across turns 3 and 4 again. 3 wide. Up top is Corey Lyles, and with them is Aaron Schugel. Looks like KDR now has 2 drivers linked up high. Henry Kaloff finds himself 2 rows lower than his teammates. Can't quite get to them right now. Unfortunately, he finds himself isolated. 3 wide. Aiden Walker on the bottom at the line, and this time through, pit road window will be open. Notice that it's going to be a very quick exit again for the number 006. Jacques Carter will only go 1 lap down and might have a chance to stay with the leaders here if he just gets back in line. It's not going to be easy, but as he pulls it through full pace, Carter just gonna miss it. He's gonna be about 2 seconds and maybe back on the tail end of this pack, and it will not be enough unless he just gets in there with someone like Vincent Guecci. But for Carter, he's going to need to really put the pedal to the metal here and hope for the best. Meanwhile, 27 laps 10 out of 80. Expect drivers to start coming in. River Page stays out this time. Do the drivers in the mid-pack choose to do so? Most of which, yes. All of which still hold. But we are now at the point where drivers have to consider, when's the time? Is it the time? 28 laps in, and we still keep ourselves together. River Page now alongside rookie Benjamin White for first and second places. Side by side, 2 by 2. We've seen excitement in Talladega all throughout these races, from start to finish and everywhere in between. You might remember what happened in Season 4. I think if we look throughout the timeline of IORA Racing in Talladega, that might have been the most exciting race we had at this venue. We saw Jim Thurston basically do a barrel roll on the track, get back on the circuit, and continue to lead laps. Jacob Wilkerson drove right under Wilkerson, of course, he was there, under Thurston's flipping car. He won the race based on just not getting slammed by the roof of the number 96. And as a result, well, that race was chaotic. We went to the final 10 laps with yellow flags still flying rapidly in the air. And we've seen green-white checkered finishes, of course, at super speedways before. We've seen 4 wide wrecks for the win. We've seen all of the above. And speaking of, FTN Broadcasting presents to you short film highlight reels on our shorts page. We just debuted it last night. Alexander Balderas' IORA victory in Atlanta was one of the prime features, alongside Michael Araya's Octane Series Championship win and the Brooklyn Bears clinching the HCBB World Series Championship for Season 23 just a few months ago. Check out our highlight reel page by checking out the FTN Broadcasting Shorts page on our network. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, and make sure to like the stream. We're just getting started tonight. However, unfortunately, we don't have a second race for you. The Highline Racing League will come back though, and when it does, it's going to be another dirt track. The one and only on their schedule, but we'll get down and dirty again on FTN, and we hope you enjoy what you're seeing because we got a lot more excitement coming your way. FTN Broadcasting Shorts page, check it out, subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep you up to date with more information. As 30 laps in out of 80, so far it looks like drivers have decided to keep themselves on the way. Interesting to note that for tonight's race, there does not appear to be any fuel limit. So, a little bit different than most other races, and that's why you're seeing most drivers trying to shy away from the two-stopper. So this is going to be intriguing. The window is open right now, yes, but the one-stop strategy may in fact prove preferable over all else. Side by side, 31 laps in out of 80, and a little bit of a strategy shift caused by some differences in setup creation. Unfortunately, our guy, Mason Moriarty, not with us tonight as league owner, and it's going to be the interim staff of Jim Thurston and Daniel Mosteller putting on the show, not only as drivers, but as admins tonight. So hats off to both of them, former champions with a lot of respect and, of course, knowledge in this series. They're giving us a great show, of course. We go racing in the final night of October. Alabama, going to be our place to be. 66 degrees when it comes down to the track temperature, but Alabama's weather tonight, well, let's take a look. Definitely going to be a little bit warmer than 66. Currently going to be 72 degrees. Hit a high of 83 tonight, and for October 31st, it was a scorcher. So these drivers, well, contrary to what's going on in the real Alabama and maybe some states across the country, it is not warm. And that means the tires will continue to be in play all race long. We mentioned that beforehand, but interesting to note that unlike most Halloweens, this one's not been all too chilly. But if you're here with us, well, it's going to get frightening, so your hairs might rise in due time. 3 wide once again, Benjamin White, Corey Lyles, and it looks like River Page. Now Lyles going to be eking it out in front. His teammate going to be pushing him through, and it looks like all of a sudden the teammates getting stacked up together for KDR. Henry right now not going to be with them, but watching as his newly acquired teammates go at it up in front. Certainly going to be proud of the team that leads the way up on the high groove. Maybe Henry can get in on it, but as you can see, once again, he is landlocked to the bottom side. And when you're down there, it's basically impossible, in all honesty, to get back up without any interference. I mean, Kaloff is going to have to stay there. Looks like most other teammates have been better organized throughout the night, although, once again, River Page a little bit more separate from those who he's been working with. Benjamin White able to get back up to his rear end. And so, number 32 is going to play the role of pusher and shover just behind the 24 of Page here. And just making sure there's a little bit of distance throughout the corners makes all the difference here. You don't want to be slamming a driver into these corners without hesitation. That's practically impossible. And as a result, well, looks like here, down the straightaways, full force. Down the corners, of course, you just can't do that. It's all about the waiting game, which is something we don't say all too often in Talladega, but you have to be patient. For Benjamin White, he's been on the platform for quite a while here, and he has himself one of the highest I ratings in this server. He has a 7,000 I rating compared to only one other driver. He is lower. That is Jim Thurston with a 7184. White is a well-acclaimed driver in the oval iRacing scene, and it's great to see him up in front of the field today. He's worked with the likes of Wyatt Tinsley, an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, and knows what it's like in the runs of the eNASCAR world. And it looks like tonight, the best of the best once again have rose to the top. And that's the case for the IORA Cup Series. The top half of this field is stacked. And once again, you're seeing that come into play. Even some drivers who are not inside the top 10 right now. Braden Movick, Frank DeAngelis, definitely Daniel Mosteller. Heavy emphasis on these three, of course, and a few others further on back who have proven to be stout drivers in their IORA career and their sim racing career. Interesting to see right now, Daniel Mosteller has decided to go with the outlook of falling back. Not something we often see from him at the mid-race point, but with different calls on strategy and fuel, we're getting to see a little bit of a different side to some of these drivers as they have to work out a full fuel stint. This will be one of the longest stints on fuel we do all throughout the season. Unlike anything else, these drivers get a perfect chance to flesh out an entire run, end to end. Talladega is still going to come down to some pretty close fuel mileage overall, but when it's one pit stop, it's a lot simpler to manage all the way. River Page comes to lap number 36 here out of 80. Let's talk about the championship standings, who is in and who is out. It's really going to heat up after this point, however. Currently, Jason Cimetto is the final man in. That is due to change, though, because Jason is not with us. Same goes for Beaver Serrano in 13th, with Alexander Balderas right now running 14th in the championship, and currently, of course, he's on track, whereas Cimetto and Serrano are not. Balderas is expected to be the final driver to enter the playoffs. Maybe Braxton Whitaker gets in with them. That's going to be a very close call, and it looks like with Whitaker not on track tonight, won't be possible. So Alexander Balderas has a chance to put himself in. Corey Lyles is a driver at risk, though, and I think for Corey Lyles here, given the fact he has 40 points back on the cut, he would need to win this race to lock in to the Season 6 playoffs. He finds himself currently 16th in the championship standings with 197 points. Aaron Schumer currently finds himself in 10th, and there's no way to really move backwards tonight, so while Aaron is locked in, Corey Lyles is on the cut. He and Alexander Balderas will be fighting for those final two positions, and Alexander Balderas right now has a significant advantage. So long as Balderas just stays on the track and finishes this race, he's in. Lyles, on the other hand, needs a huge race. He needs a win, and he definitely needs, at the very minimum, the top 5 and some laps led to get that consideration to make it up inside the top 12. Whereas you look up to the front of the championship pylon, and it's still Aiden Walker and Daniel Mosteller. And these two drivers have been the cream of the crop all season long, while Mosteller has been able to get multiple race wins and Aiden none. Aiden still has a marginal advantage. He came into the day 5 points ahead of Demos after a few lead lap bonuses have been applied. Aiden Walker currently is 8 points ahead of the number 87. So as long as he stays up and in front of Demos, he will be able to win the regular season title. Meanwhile, if Daniel Mosteller wins this race, the regular season championship is his. If neither of which win, this will go down to points and final tabulation. However, with Walker clearly ahead of his championship rival right now, he would be able to walk away with the regular season title. If he wins, it is an automatic victory for the number 93. That victory will only gift him one thing: seed 1 in the playoff picture, which, while important, yes, isn't really a be-all end-all for a championship run either. Doesn't mean anything in the long term as long as the drivers perform, execute well in the next coming weeks. It just means you have a little bit of a buffer in case things go wrong, and so far for the 93 crew, nothing really has. The only thing he's got to worry about is whether or not Daniel Mosteller continues to outdo him to victory lane, but that's something that, of course, can be worked on, and given how close Walker has been time and time again, I have no doubt that eventually Aiden will see the checkered flag once more. Meanwhile, Jacob Wilkerson, and up top there, also going to be Benjamin White, still going with it. Mentioned, Wilkerson has won at this track, did so last year in Season 4, and I'm sure he'd love to do so once again. The final next-gen winner in Talladega, IORA's brief next-gen era, came to an end, of course, rather quickly, only half of Season 3 and Season 4, but Wilkerson got the last lap in Alabama, and so now, take a look at how the field is organized. No longer are they double file or even 3 wide. Instead, all singled out, ready to enter pit road. 40 laps in, out of 80. Pit road is going to be hit this time by, and this time it's a certainty. 2-stop window has been ignored for tonight. Some drivers saw the warning and decided not to heed it. As a result, it looks like now, 40 laps to go, that's what's left on the table, and it'll be one flat stint. Everyone's going to come down and in this time by. Benjamin White gets the chance to lead him. Looks like no trouble on the way in. No incidents, some skid marks back and forth, but the field makes it in under green. No problems, we'll keep on the way, and so Benjamin White gets the advantage as he locks into his pit stall. The number 32 came in as your race leader. Watch out. Meanwhile, up at the head of the field, Dominic Barbagallo. Looks like with him, it's going to be Nate McLaughlin, DeAngelis as well, and Daniel Mosteller, the only 4 that find themselves advantageous. And so with these 4 go down and in, it'll be about time for your pit road run to come to a cease. So far, it looks like River Page has the advantage. He and Aiden Walker, Benjamin White, and Brendan Dugan, all alongside the Pacism crew of Thurston and Page. They just got out. Meanwhile, Jacob Wilkerson and company did more the same. Now time for your final 4 to come in. Daniel Mosteller going to take that very wide entry. Won't be a problem for him. And it looks like everyone comes through without incident once again. Meanwhile, take a look up in front of the new race leading pack. They just got back on the circuit as well. And now it looks like the 24 and company are ready to lead the field once again. Aiden Walker in the perfect position, race leader, although he wasn't the man leading in. He certainly is the driver you see right now up and in front. P1, he's soon to get it again. Daniel Mosteller scored as your overall race leader. Net race leader is Aiden Walker, though that could change and fast. Looks like Demos is back on the way. Number 87 just got going at the start-finish line. Will it be enough? It looks like not quite. Coming in very quick, here comes Walker with multiple of the drivers. Benjamin White, Brendan Dugan, Thurston and company. Take a look at how fast they pull away. New main pack, and it is small, I'll tell you that much. And now you took a look fluid further behind. That's where Daniel Mosteller and company just ended up. Demos, who had that advantage, well, looks like it's about as gone as it gets. Now he's got himself the second group to work with. Demos is there. Dominic Barbagallo, Nate McLaughlin coming up to them. Brendan Dugan is not going to be there, but Braden Movick is. Michael Deitch, also Connor Mirabelli, and Aaron Schugel. So two of the KDR drivers find themselves together again. Daniel Mosteller finds himself further back. Race leading group is now about 2 seconds to the lead of this much bigger pack behind. And so, with that being said, only 38 laps remain. Coming down to the final countdown here in Alabama. And Benjamin White holds himself up and in front. First-time driver, a race rookie, and a season rookie at that. And he's got himself up and in front like a veteran. It looks like he has not skipped a beat tonight, although he didn't come out of pit road the fastest. Looks like a lot of confidence now in this number 32 to hold it down for the next coming laps and maybe lead them for the good majority of this stint. We'll see if this first pack can get away, but as Walker's already going to find himself moved again in front of White, Benjamin's going to relinquish his spot. They go side by side once more. Brendan Dugan there with Jacob Wilkerson, and the power struggle will continue. More than 40 laps in so far, this opening stint has been clean and green. Now the question becomes, as drivers link up once again, who's got the best stuff to go the full distance? Multiple packs are still trying to form up with one another. Guys as far back as Braden Movick and even further back, those like Michael Deitch are now getting even closer. About 20 drivers are within 4 seconds of your race leader, and while that might sound like a position where you can't get anything done, it's game over, quite the opposite. Matter of fact, for Michael Deitch, while he wiggles and bobbles just a wee bit, he should be just fine in keeping up with this group as long as he stays to the tail end of it. 4 seconds can be made up if you have 3 packs. At the very most, there's about a second and a third gap between each and every one of which, and the drafting range is maybe about a second and a half, and with multiple cars, it becomes a little bit stronger. So hope has not been fully lost for the drivers who are not in that leading group of about 7 or 8 drivers. This means now you might see more drivers slowly but surely tether on, or you might see that big second pack merge into itself, and then you're going to see that real fight for the race lead come alive. Jacob Wilkerson and Brendan Dugan hold each other side by side. And for those who are further back, this is the perfect thing to have happen. Perfect thing to be seeing if you're looking from your windshield, but from the rearview mirror, it might not be the most pleasant sight. Not quite sure why they're incentivizing or really allowing for this sort of double file racing up and ahead. Maybe they want to see a little bit more competition and have some more fun. With that being said, it looks like they're inviting that guest in rather quickly. Already you're seeing that inside line is massive all the way down to Daniel Mosteller, so 13 drivers in the pack once again, and a few more catch up. It could be as much as 20 in just a few laps. And it looks like that's exactly the case. Dominic Barbagallo is right within the confines of the draft. Matter of fact, he's now making gains on this leading group. So we've got about 18 drivers fully attached to this pack. Michael Deitch is coming up through as well, and Vincent Guecci is going to follow him in. Now everything looks to be all set for another run to the flag. Whether or not they get to the checkered flag or yellow, though, is to be determined. 35 laps to go. Now everyone else is going to worry less about strategy and more about going for the win. Here we go again in Talladega. Just a few laps of reorganization, and we are back on our way. Jacob Wilkerson leads, Aiden Walker now side by side with Brendan Dugan there for second. Question becomes, how aggressive will these drivers get, and what will it take to see that breaking point, shall we say? What's going to turn these drivers into machines, going at each other back and forth, tossing and turning, and giving everything they've got to keep their position? Well, right now they've been pretty restrictive, pretty restrained, shall we say, and reluctant to go for an aggressive style of racing. Instead, I think they're more focused on just getting to the end of the race, which is the strongest and biggest priority, especially for those drivers who need a good night to get into the championship's first round, the playoffs, such as Corey Lyles, who needs to lock himself in. It's not an option anymore. It is mandatory that Corey Lyles goes the distance here. He needs to collect a checkered flag to move on to the next round of the playoff picture. Of course, the first of which, the regular season maybe not being all too kind to him, and he looked to turn it around in the next coming weeks. Although right now, time running out, and he's only going to have about 33 laps to go to turn around this night. He's going to need some help from teammates, and luckily for him, a few of his teammates are still around him, those of which include, of course, well, you look a little bit further back, Aaron Schugel, but for Schugel, he's going to be all the way to tail end of this line. Will he decide to get a little bit more aggressive? Remains to be seen. Also, you got Henry Kaloff, and so the KDR drivers can now begin to plot. They're all on the same line, down at the bottom, the tail end of the field, and it looks like now everyone's really starting to understand what to do in the next few laps. 32 laps to go this time by Daniel Mosteller and Aiden Walker are first and second, and the championship favorites are once again battling each other toe-to-toe. Keep in mind, if Aiden Walker wins, the regular season championship is his. If Daniel Mosteller wins, well, regular season championship goes to him instead. That is the difference. Victory and defeat not only comes down to what happens on the racetrack, but also what's going on in the season. And if they want to be the top-seeded driver in the playoffs, well, they're going to have to earn it. Aiden does come again with that 8-point advantage, so if something were to happen, and neither of which win, it will be Aiden most likely to get it done. Of course, the final positions will determine really who places where. But for Daniel Mosteller right now, it must be weird to see the Fanta Chevy Camaro leading and him not being the driver inside of it. Nevertheless, he's right now with it. Don't think he's too concerned about losing distance. New drivers, including, of course, the driver, the number 950, Dom Barbagallo. Brand new driver tonight, and the 950 will be a temporary number. Joined in a little bit late tonight, however, he's made his way in. It's the Flow Racing Toyota Supra, number 57 on your screen. Dominic Barbagallo making his very first leap into IORA Cup Series competition. One of many drivers who's getting that first taste, and it's interesting to see what's going on. He and Nate McLaughlin, as a matter of fact. McLaughlin tonight is the 57, 950. Dom Barbagallo relegated to the 17, both of which are going to be on temporary numbers tonight, and we'll see what they do in the future for the IORA Cup Series career. First-time drivers who are both inside the top 5. What a wonderful way to kick off their first ever attempts in this league. And so far, they've gotten a pretty good taste of what the IORA Cup Series is all about. Green flag racing, lap in, lap out, and of course, when it comes down to it, it's excitement. And if you want to join the IORA Cup Series yourself, that offer is always available to all of our FTN viewers. Check out the Discord QR code on your screen, or click the links in our description, because we've got an offer for you that is completely free. Join the FTN Broadcasting Community Discord, and if you do so, you can not only find out about each and every one of our broadcasted leagues, when and how to join, but also you can find your way over to our open chat room, our race picture collection, and you can share your sim racing memories and achievements with us at FTN. Love to hear from you, of course. No matter if you're an IORA Cup Series fan or a fan of our other leagues, we would love to have you, as we are only just getting started. 29 laps to go, and the racing still continues on. Now it looks like Nate McLaughlin collects the overall race lead. First time tonight, Nate has been able to do so, and he finds himself now not only up and ahead, but a car length up at that. Good job there for the 57. We'll see whether or not he can perhaps make some more moves here, but that'll come down to defense. Does this number 57 have the stuff to defend and move on the rest of the field? I think that's something that we really don't understand just yet, and this is what happens when new drivers come in late in the season. You have to play it with a sense of caution. Maybe that's actually going to save the field here rather than doing anything all too risky, but trying to feel out the drivers around you so late, it's not easy. And right now with 28 laps to go, Nate has made himself very clear very late, something that we didn't quite expect to see. The number 57 jumping up and ahead. Now, first and second in the championship standings are second and third overall on track, and Dominic Barbagallo has backed off as well. Double file a little bit further behind. You'll also have Frank DeAngelis going with Jim Thurston, Braden Movick right there in the mix himself. Braden is with River Page, and Casey Bentz is now getting up there with Braden Movick. 2 by 2, only 2 rows deep, but with Vincent Guecci now going high, he'll make it a third straight. Then he's going to try and do something different himself as he takes it up to the top side, and he'll keep Braden Movick right there on his bottom. Christian Cole, another first-time driver. He is in 12th right now. Looks like the rookies tonight have done a great job. One who's done perhaps the best of which actually finds himself further behind. Benjamin White, who has led 6 laps today. Not all too many, but he's definitely put his mark in. Actually finds himself the furthest of all rookies, running in 15th. And the reason for that looks to be pretty intentional. He doesn't seem to be all too concerned with being an aggressive driver in this final stint. We've made it beyond the point of strategy mattering or making any changes. Now, I think it just comes down to whether or not these drivers have an eye for danger. They sense it. Can they understand when exactly it's going to occur? And if it's possible, will they be able to avoid it? Right now for Benjamin White, I think he's sensing a problem ahead, even if nothing has occurred tonight. And interestingly enough, and we're only going to say it because history was made last week, the first ever caution-free IORA Cup Series race was run last week in the Oschersleben. Interesting, it's never happened before, even at the road courses, something we didn't consider. The numbers do back it up. The first ever IORA Cup Series race with no cautions, including multiple drivers. There is technically an instance of a caution-free race in Season 1 where Daniel Mosteller ran every lap by himself. But for multiple drivers anyway, that is the first ever caution-free race we've ever had. And it's a landmark achievement for the series because we've gotten so close many a time before. Now, ever since we got this race started, well, as we've seen, 0 cautions just yet. Interesting to see that Talladega, of all places, and a road course have brought back-to-back similar successes, but I think drivers are still sensing that danger is on the horizon. With 25 laps to go here, double file is the norm, compared to the first 25 laps where we saw 3 wide action as persistent as it got. Vincent Guecci, Frank DeAngelis, both of which up high. You got the 87 of Daniel Mosteller working low, and here comes, of course, Nate McLaughlin to the line again. Wonderful job for the 57, now getting his reps in and leading laps, but is it too late? Can he be trusted? The communication factor of Talladega, for all the 3-wide racing we saw, we haven't even discussed that point, and now I think teammates are going to be an even stronger thing than ever. Power Smash, Infinity Speed Motorsport, the 96 and 55 are lined up. How about for KDR? You've got right now Corey Lyles. He previously had Aaron Schugel and Henry Kaloff on him. Maybe they'll work with each other in the coming laps to make their way further up. It looks like the 91 is still here with the 63, and when they get the signal to go, I think you're going to see an all-out assault from Kaloff and company. That team will be ready to pounce fast. Nate McLaughlin, nevertheless, is working alone tonight, and he's going to have to deal with a championship contender who wants this win. Keep in mind that even if Nate McLaughlin wins in this position, if Aiden Walker stays right beside him, Walker wins the regular season. No matter what, if the 87 of Daniel Mosteller somehow makes his way through and wins tonight, it's his regular season championship. And there's a lot of incentive now for the number 87 to do something. Make it by McLaughlin and do it fast. Time is of the essence, and every driver knows it. 23 laps to go in the spooky 213. Now, with that being said, 22 laps to go. The number's as familiar as it gets on FTN, and it's coming up again. Even through the fog and through the wind, TrackCams22.com brings the best cameras in sim racing. We'd like to thank our friends at TrackCams22.com for providing the on-track and on-car angles for tonight's broadcast, and they've done so for IORA Cup Series Racing since Season 2. We'll be back after we crank it up now in the heat of the moment. 22 laps to go from the virtual Talladega SuperSpeedway. It's about time that we crank it up from your regular season finale. Vincent Guecci, Jacob Wilkerson, new race leaders, and all of a sudden the rookie's out the way. In his place anyhow, well, we got ourselves a different group, And that bundle is going to include the number 88. Vincent Guecci's been up and down all day long, and it's a given that Vinny has himself a good day, even if he doesn't start all too well. Started in 20th tonight, the qualifying numbers did not suit his fancy. Nevertheless, it's the highest spot he's running all throughout the day, and if he gets the line this time by, it will be the first lap he's led in this event. I wonder whether or not that number 57 of McLaughlin came in late. Well, looks like Vinny's going to bloom even later. At lap number 65, he'll be able to lead his very first. What a way to enter the competition. Vincent Guecci, the New Jersey native, making the flight out here tonight for the Northeast down south. He's got himself down low as Aiden Walker once again tries to take the overall top spot back. Walker again, he's in a position where it is practically do or die between he and Daniel Mosteller. They're so close to each other on track and so close in the championship that every point makes a difference. 3 wide right now, further on back once again. Jacob Wilkerson, Brendan Dugan, Casey Bent, River Page, all of which giving each other adequate room, just enough room anyway. That's all these drivers have to worry about, keeping space, keeping distance. Even though 16 laps to go, I'm sure there's an extra emphasis on trying to move, trying to make those passes fast. You also have to think with your head on top of you at the same time, and it's very hard to do that, understandably, when it comes down to the last moments of a race. But you also have to think about it like this. If your car is destroyed or if you lose track position, that might be worse than what we're going to see now. Walker up the track, Jacob Wilkerson, Brendan Dugan, the big one in Talladega with 15 laps to go. Massive incident. Aiden Walker going to be taken for a ride. Wilkerson 2. Caution is out. First of the day. Take a look at this one. It was a massive wreck. Looks like Walker should be able to survive it. Some others, though, maybe not quite. Let's take a look, figure out what happened, and maybe we'll see who's at fault. Taking a look here, 3 wide they were. You saw Corey Lyles maybe weaving and bobbing. Casey Bent's there. Then Dugan slightly into Wilkerson, up into Walker, and they were drifting right through the entire corner. Corey Lyles slides, hits Aaron Schugel, hits then, it looks like Don Barbagallo. Aiden Walker then gets a piece, and a few other drivers are able to run just out of sight. Daniel Mosteller, one of which he's going to get through just barely. Some front-end damage for guys like, of course, Wilkerson, Aiden Walker, Corey Lyles, and Aaron Schugel. 14 laps to go, and the inevitable caught up to us. First yellow flag of the day, and we went nearly 2 consecutive races caution-free. Commendable effort to get this far, but now, what becomes of our final 10 laps? I think that's going to be in the minds of everyone. It's such a small amount of time. Anything could happen. We could see this race littered in cautions to the end, or that could be it. We'll see. Now, we'll see if pit road becomes anything of a factor. Very unlikely driver decide to go down and into pit road. Vincent Guecci is looking. He's looking, but it looks like he will decide to stay down below. Vincent Guecci goes down a pit road. How many drivers will he lead? Looks like right behind him come not all too many on track, most of which do indeed head to pit road. Gonna top off on fuel in anticipation perhaps of an additional incident or two or another green-white checkered attempt. Now Daniel Mosteller and River Page come in together. Interesting call, so the 2-stop strategy is alive at last, and here we go, a few first. Now you'll see Daniel Mosteller getting back on the way, Vincent Guecci, Dominic Barbagallo, and then Benjamin White. Currently, Frank DeAngelis has your race lead. Nate McLaughlin stays out, and mind you, these drivers are able to go all the way without going to pit road again. That was a completely voluntary decision. Interesting one of that. Nevertheless, green flag will fly in about 2 laps here. We'll go green with 11 laps remaining. So, little bit of time left and a new race leader in Frank DeAngelis. Time before we go racing, of course, we've got just a bit, so we'll bring you back to uninterrupted coverage under green on FTN after a message from our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations. Leading and pioneering the sim racing game since 2008, 16 plus years of action and dedication for iRacing.com have created the world's most realistic racing simulator. No matter if it's stock car racing, open wheel racing, dirt tracks, short tracks, road courses, super speedways, anything from any time and any place, iRacing has you covered in the most realistic fashion with laser scan replicas down to the millimeter of tracks and cars and more than 10,000 active concurrent users at any given time. You can find your way into the virtual sim racing world by visiting and signing up for a membership at iRacing.com. We'd love to have you join the fun live on FTN with us, and the first way you can do that is by signing up for an iRacing membership. We'll be right back after the following message from our friends at iRacing.com.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Eleven laps to go when we return green. Frank DeAngelis and the number 57 of Nate McLaughlin have decided to keep themselves out and ahead. They're now going to have themselves only a dozen laps to finish the job. Whether or not that's enough time or whether or not that's too much, that's the big question. First caution of the day after 65 laps. Now, the big picture, well, I think it's out of the way. This race has gone from a marathon, which is what it was for more than 50 plus, to a brief sprint. Almost every driver who registered is still in this race, mind you, and I think now, as a matter of fact, the entire field is back on the lead lap. Before we had that yellow flag, Jaquay Carter was one lap down. Now, if you take a look, all 24 drivers are on the lead lap. No retirees tonight, and everyone who started is still going. As such, time for Frank DeAngelis to bring the field down and in for our final pace lap under yellow. Hopefully of the night, that is still a big what if. We'll see what these drivers do as they are getting ready to go back at it. Green flag is going to fly, the 57 up top, the 69 to DeAngelis down low. First restart of the night, Frank DeAngelis gets the chance to get us back going at full pace. Green flag's out once again, 11 laps to go. Frank DeAngelis on the bottom gets the jump. Eleven laps remaining and already jumping into that middle groove is the 69 of Frank DeAngelis. He's got with him Nate McLaughlin. Both drivers who are starting on the front row have already assimilated up top and have kept with each other. Casey Bentz on the bottom, with them Connor Mirabelli. And this is now when those drivers who are more so out of regular contention understand this is their chance. 10 laps to go next time by, then we reach the single digits, and then we get to that point of no return where it really is every man for himself. Right now, single file between some of our best drivers, some of those who are top in the point standings, who need to keep this wall of defense up if they want to come away with another top 5 or a top 10 at that. Jim Thurston swoops down to the bottom. He'll find himself now 3 wide for third. Won't quite stick. Dom Barbagallo instead gets ahead of him. Now Vincent Guecci lines up right behind the 96. And so we keep it together once more. 10 laps to go, and here comes that number 57. Nate McLaughlin is once again leading the way. The 87 of Daniel Osteller is right there just behind. What can Benjamin White do now in this position? He and Braden Movick work well together all night long, but that's one of those groupings that hasn't really made any noise. They've been together, they've been up in front, and they've made some noise individually. White has been able to lead laps, and Daniel Osteller, of course, now sees him right behind. Braden Movick as well has been inside of the top 5 for a few laps at a time. However, they haven't really done much as a pair just yet to make me think they are the duo that is going to get the job done and take this win for themselves. Now, what can you do to change that in the last laps? Still a big what if. Now, you can also see that Daniel Osteller is ahead convincingly of Aiden Walker. Walker now finds himself all the way down outside of the top 15. Currently going to find himself running just behind Casey Benz. Position, well, he's going to find himself way on back. Matter of fact, 24th and last in timing and scoring. Unbelievable that Walker's so far behind. Meanwhile, Daniel Osteller's up inside the top 5. So if Demos was able to maintain a top 5 run and of course finish there, and of course if Aiden Walker stays this far behind, Demos would win the regular season championship. Unfortunately, the 93 getting involved in that incident is now going to leave him almost left for dead. Meanwhile, Daniel Osteller has the race lead, and it's a tale of 2 races here. Now the 93 is in dead last, and the number 87 is leading. What a cruel irony if it is to be this way for Aiden Walker. He's watching, and he just finds himself losing more and more and more time. And now it's going to be Benjamin White pushing the 87 out in front. Henry Kaloff finds himself inside the top 5 while his teammates are not there with him. It looks like HKR now has their leading man, the flagship driver, up at the head of the pack. And there's Alexander Balderas just inside the confines of the top 10. Alexander's up high, getting a little bit more pressure there from the 24 of River Page. Sliding! Balderas down the track. Will they save it? No! River Page goes around. Yellow flags out for the second time tonight. Caution. Page miraculously avoids significant damage, and yet the yellow flag flies regardless, but for good reason. Take a look back and you'll see why. River Page cause for concern as this incident occurs. Number 95 of Alexander Balderas was up top. River Page was just there with them, and it looked like maybe the 95 tried to clamp down. No, it looked like Marabelli tagged by Page. Page went up to Balderas, and then they went sliding. River Page gets loose, barely avoids Jacques Carter. Carter's going to slide, and it looks like contact with Michael Deitch there from the 24 of River Page. Contact between Deitch, Page, Jacques Carter goes around, Alexander Balderas, and Connor Mirabelli involved. Yellow flag flies with 6 laps to go. Current race leader is Benjamin White according to timing and scoring. You have Braden Movick in second, Daniel Osteller in third, all of which still putting themselves together to get back to the iRacing official pace car. We go green, we will have at most 3 laps left. And so a little bit of time before we go green and figure out what the circumstance is. So we'll give you our final FTN promotional break of the day. We'd like to, of course, thank all of our associates and partners that bring this action to you, and we'll thank them, of course, with video form. We'll be back after the following messages with 6 laps to go. You're watching coverage of the spooky odd 213. Stay right here. It's about to get exciting to finish off our Halloween festivities. One driver comes away with a big treat, a victory, and or the regular season championship. We'll be right back after this.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
We'll have 3 laps of green flag racing left. That's all it will come down to when we go back at it once again here in Talladega. We've made it to the tail end of this event. It is your second caution of the day. Let's keep in mind, though, that if we have any additional cautions, we will go to our overtime format in which the white flag will be the be-all, end-all. It will still remain the be-all, end-all in this situation. However, we will not extend the race length just yet. However, any other cautions will automatically extend this race for a green-white checkered finish. And 2 drivers on the front row and 3 in the top 4 who have not made any IORA Cup Series starts all throughout this year until today. Leader Benjamin White, second place Braden Mulvick, and right there, third place in Nate McLaughlin. Daniel Mosteller, the veteran that holds fort, is looking to win the regular season championship tonight so long as he stays just ahead of Aiden Walker. Walker all the way at the tail end of the field, and it looks like that's exactly where he will remain unless he has a miracle run in 3 laps, which is possible. I don't think it's going to be quite likely that Aiden comes away with this regular season title. It looks like fate is in Mosteller's hands so long as he does the right thing here and stays out of trouble. That's not guaranteed either. White flag flies, this race is official. And we could have a wreck after the white flag. That won't change a thing. Mulvick, White, top 2 drivers here. Came in together, they worked together, and now they lead together. 1 man up top, 1 on the bottom, and they are ready to do battle all over again. 4 laps to go. Welcome back to Talladega. Welcome back to our Halloween special on FTN, and this is the perfect treat to end the night. Only 1 big incident so far. We'll see if we make that a crooked number in due time. iRacing official pace car descends low. Walker, well, he finds himself all the way back. Daniel Mosteller is looking to clinch the regular season title as a result, and he's looking to go and take a win with it. Meanwhile, there's, of course, Benjamin White, your race leader, looking to get the job done with 3 laps left. Let's go racing. Green flag's gonna fly for restart number 2. White gets the advantage, and he immediately links up with Braden Mulvick up top. Top two back together. Very expected, very familiar setting, and it looks like Nate McLaughlin will decide not to back down. Middle Groove is going to get a much better run down the Alabama Gang super stretch, which gives Daniel Mostello the opportunity to peek out, and whether or not he decides to fully separate himself, well, that decision will have to come sooner than later. Both drivers assigned to block the 87 once again. Braden Lubbock knows one thing about Daniel Mostello. He is a threat to win in any super speedway event, such as what you're seeing right here, right now. Demos is going to try to peer low. It looks like at long last he finds the room and he has the rhythm. Jim Thurston goes up high on Braden Lubbock. It's a divide and conquer scenario. 2 laps to go. 1 lap to go will be this race's official once again. Now you'll see Benjamin White's barely got the advantage. He's been separated from his man in the number 42, and if he can keep with Braden Lubbock, he'll have a significantly higher chance of winning. And now that they're connected again down the back straightaway, Daniel Mostello is alone, but he can try and trust the new man in the 57. It looks like McLaughlin's done a wonderful job for a rookie so far, but it is not easy to put your hands in the fate of another driver all at once. Jim Thurston is still high with Jacob Wilkerson. Wilkerson has won at this track. He did so 2 seasons ago. Massive wiggle there from Benjamin White. He'll save it, and we will stay green. If we get to the white flag, which it looks like we will, this is it. Final lap from Talladega. Here we go to finish off our Halloween festivities. White and Lubbock, first and second. They still remain right in the middle. Wilkerson and Jim Thurston will need a massive run coming through the next straightaway, and it's not going to be easy to put one together, but now Thurston's got to move. Wilkerson stays right on his back bumper, side by side with Lubbock and White. Benjamin still just barely has the advantage. Now Lubbock decides to block Daniel Mostello. That will leave Barbagallo with the 32, and the 96 is still up top. Demos is now going to push Braden Lubbock out to the race lead. Braden hasn't been with us since season 2. He's now trying to block for the final 500 yards. He'll slide down low, not enough momentum. The 57 now comes astray. Daniel Mostello side by side with Braden Lubbock will just barely hold on. Lubbock wins the regular season championship and wins from the virtual Talladega. 65 1,000ths of a second. Demos collects his second consecutive win. Top seed in the playoffs, the number 87, Daniel Mostello. He'll fend off 2 returning drivers. First time we saw them both this year. Benjamin White and Braden Lubbock, positions 2 and 3. After your top 3, which we'll get a word from momentarily, 4th place is Nate McLaughlin, another rookie. Vincent Guecci finishes 5th, with Michael Dyke 6th. Corey Lyles in 7th, and Devins Baker, P8. 9th place goes to Alexander Balderas, and Aaron Schugel then finishes in 10th, with the 11th place then being occupied by River Page. 12th is Frank DeAngelis with 13th and Jim Thurston. It'll be Henry Caloff 14th, and Jacquet Carter P15. Christian Kolb is in 15th. Just after in P16. Dominic Barbagallo 17th, Aiden Walker 18th, Andres Varas in 19th, Nathan Paloada 20th, with Jacob Wilkerson, Casey Bentz, Connor Mirabelli, and Brendan Dugan concluding your lineup for tonight. Demos burns down the house and collects the regular season title. Daniel Mosteller at last finishes up that celebration, and we've seen a lot of victory lane for Demos so far this season. It was a clutch win. Of course, consider the circumstances. He needed to beat Aiden Walker, who was dominant for the majority of the night. And at long last, he broke away, and at long last, he collects the checkered flag. We'll hear from all your top 3 finishers momentarily. Let's first get a word from the man who wins the race, of course, Daniel Mosteller. The regular season title is his. Let's have a chat with your number 87 here and figure out exactly what's going on after clinching the regular season championship. Demos, another win at the perfect time. You close the gap and you take away the regular season title and a victory in Talladega. What a fun Halloween it was. Of course, racing in Talladega, only 2 cautions, and you came away in a near photo finish.
Yeah, I don't know how I won that. That was crazy. That's just been the story of my season. It's either checkers or wreckers. If I'm winning, or if I'm not winning, I'm crashing. But I'm winning a lot. And to start the regular season off and the season off with the win at Daytona, and to close out the regular season with a victory, absolute clutch. Really needed that. And yeah, it looks like Walker got wrecked there on the last lap. And was able to pull enough points on him to get the regular season title. So that's pretty awesome. I'm stoked about that.
And we knew how close it would be between you and Walker to kick off the night. Of course, both of you running so well to start. We had, a 65-lap stint, one of our longest ever at Talladega, in fact, to begin this race. A lot of green flag strategy. And how was it for you, of course, knowing not only the win and that top seed were on the line?
Yeah, this was a really good race. So shout out to everybody. 65-lap green flag run to start the race that's awesome. Especially backing up the caution-free race last week. It's awesome. We've made great strides in this league, and it's awesome to see the result on the product on the track starting to show. The races have been a lot better. It's been awesome. It's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to start the playoffs next week.
And of course, now all eyes are on what's up next, the championship race. You're the man with the top seed and a lot of reasons to be excited. So let's talk about that championship picture. You're a 2-time champ. We've seen you each and every season you participated, top 3 in points. So, what's up next for you? Looks like it's going to be Darlington. Well, the lady in black returned for 120 laps. Darlington's not a track the IORA Cup Series actually been at. Now, a few of your competitors have gotten some experience in on other FTN leagues. I'm sure you've been there yourself. How do you feel about your shot at maybe kicking off another round with another win?
Yeah, I feel good about it. Darlington, it really isn't one of my strong tracks, but I had a good run last season, got 3rd, with a little bit of strategy to try to win the race. So I think it's definitely in the cards of a race I could possibly win, but something I need to do is I need to just stay consistent and kind of avoid the mistakes that I've made in the regular season, just to stay out of trouble. That's the main thing. And races like today, absolutely what I need. And it's awesome to get a win on Halloween in this beautiful Reese's Chevrolet Camaro.
And a great way to make your way through, collect the final win of the regular season, and end Halloween with a treat. Daniel Mosteller, you led the most 2 important laps of the night, and you come away with a victory for the 4th time this season. Any final comments you'd like to give?
Yeah, I want to thank you for broadcasting as always. Mason, who usually off tracks, hope he's doing well. We miss him. I hope to see him back soon. Thanks to Thurston, everyone for adminning, helping out. Really good race. Shout out to everyone. A lot of fun, and can't wait to start the playoffs next week.
And so, Daniel Mosteller coming with a head full of momentum, winning at Daytona and Talladega, king of the SuperSpeedways in Season 6. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, comments from 2nd and 3rd place are not currently available, and we're figuring out whether or not those 2 drivers will be able to show up tonight. So we'll take a moment, step away from the action, and we'll return with either our final thoughts or our last moments with our final podium contenders. We'll be right back after this. You're watching the Spooky Odd 213 post-race coverage. We'll return, hopefully, with your final 2 podium sitters.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And it looks like at this point, Braden Movick is indeed available to speak with us. So let's get a word from your third place finisher, a driver we haven't seen since 2022. Braden Movick comes back in a big way to the IORA Cup Series with a podium finish and a few laps led at that. Overall, a very solid return for the number 42 team. Braden, what's it like returning after so much time apart?
Well, my first stint in this league it was quite a tumultuous time. You know, it was 3 years ago, almost. It's when we were running the Gen 6 Cup car still. Yeah, took a little bit of a break here for a few years. Decided to come back and put on a show. That's what I do.
Well, you definitely did put on a show. Starting tonight in 22nd, you and Benjamin White particularly working real well together to get up to the front of the field and keep it there. I know for certain you're familiar with a lot of these guys out here, so what was it like in a league setting, you know, doing what you do best?
I will be honest here. I was quite surprised with going the first 66 lap screen. I was very impressed with the field, given what I know about them. But yeah, Benjamin White and I, we were hauling the mail. We were doing really well together. I was not involved in a single wreck tonight, which is a plus for Talladega, which is also a miracle. But yeah, it was all about just getting to the front, surviving, and I did that. If I do one thing a little bit differently, I probably win that race. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
And on your very first, of course, attempt back, you were oh so close to collecting the checkered flag here. We have 5 races left in the season, and of course, bringing some good momentum to this crew with a third place finish. Maybe you're going to come back for the next few. I know Darlington is next for a shot at victory.
Maybe. I've never been too fond of the Xfinity car at Darlington, but I have not raced it at Darlington since they've gotten the new handling update, which I used to be the biggest Xfinity hater in the world for like 3 years. I hated the car. I hated everything about them. The racing was awful. Or for me personally, for me, it felt like it drove like a pontoon with water in the actual pontoon. But yeah, they did something. Whatever they fixed, it's a race car now. And yeah, I might pop out to Darlington, but will depend on other league commitments first. But yeah, you might see me there. You'll definitely see me in Chicagoland probably, because I think I love my Chicagoland.
Well, with that being said, a great way to return after several seasons apart. Braden Movick kicking off your Season 6 tenure. Third place tonight. Any final shout-outs or comments you'd like to give?
I'd like to shout out Tyler Tinsley, the GOAT painter of iRacing, for the paint scheme tonight. Love representing NXT, WWE NXT, Halloween Havoc. Put on a great show. Had some of the greatest wrestlers on the planet on the car. So I got to thank them for bringing a lot of entertainment to me. And I try to replicate what they do in the wrestling ring on the racetrack to give the fans at home quite the show to watch. So yeah, what a fun time. Wahoo.
E3 on the day, Braden Movick collecting the final step on the podium in his Season 6 debut. Thank you again for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
With Movick on the move, no word from Benjamin White tonight, who finishes in second. Looks like he's not with us in this Discord server, and so as a result, won't get a word from your second place finisher. Nevertheless, Braden Movick comes away third tonight, and of course, race winner at number 87 of Daniel Mosteller. Quite the foggy event here in Talladega, but it was crystal clear at the very end. The cream of this field always rise up to the top, and Daniel Mosteller has done so again with his fourth, of course, win of the season. Win number 4. Daytona, he kicked off the season getting the job done, and he does it again in the Superspeedway in Talladega. Now we move on, and next week we'll go racing from the Lady in Black for 120 laps in Darlington, and we hope to, of course, see you there. You've been watching coverage live on FTN from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, and I've been your host, David Croyt, commentating and producing all throughout the way. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all coverage of the IORA Cup Series. We hope to see you back next Thursday night, same time, same place, as FTN continues exclusive coverage of this series. Season 6 now with 5 races remaining, the most intense championship campaign on a Thursday night tour here on FTN. Additionally, the Highline Racing League will come back next week at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, dirt racing, and they'll go slinging mud. Great time, of course, to come back on FTN November 6th. Stay tuned as we've got more action coming at you exclusively on FTN. From the virtual Talladega, Alabama, congratulations to Daniel Mosteller for his race victory and his regular season championship. You've been watching the IORA Cup Series. We hope you have a fantastic night.